Hey, brothers and sisters, what's up? This is the Reluctant Nabi. I had did part of this video on Facebook, but I wanted to do it again, particularly for this particular woman right here. All right, I refer to what's been going on for the minds of the Afro men as a sad thing, right? All right, some of you might not remember this woman, but I remember her vividly. I did a video on what she did, her and an African woman, when they persecuted their sons. Well, the African woman threatened her son. This woman persecuted hers. Oh yeah, by the way, her son was 7, right? For voting for Trump, a little school experiment, basically because he's seen him all the time. But this is what this video was about. Who taught us as Afro people to settle for crumbs as if the crumbs were the meal? Who brainwashed us into voting for just one party, even though we watched that party destroy us with their policies and with their ways? Oh, and that's right. The first teacher, the main teachers, led in that destruction. Okay, let me greet everybody real quick. Havorten hardugu dog, all oi to the vein. Vasas los bonjamizmi, kedabawani konnichiwa. Ni hao ni ama, sani bonani, jumper habarigani, assalamu alaikum and shalom. Some of these things, some of you that watch my other videos, you'll be familiar with them. Okay, but let me remind you real quick. Let's subscribe, get the thumbs up or down, I don't really care at this point, right? To donate to my channel, need to help. So my PayPal me and my Cash App will be in the description box. Okay, so let's roll on. All right, understand this. The LBJ, the Civil Rights Act, it did not solve any problems because it wasn't designed to. It was designed to placate us. It was designed to be crumbs. If you read at the end, they gave us just enough to quiet us down, not enough to make a difference. The guy that signed this into law, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson. All right. And his famous quote, I'll have those N-words voting for us for the next 200 years. Can't deny that. All right. So let's move on to my thoughts on this. I don't know how many of you watched the last video I had up. Let's power this off. Discussing the nature of the impeachments and all the rest of this stuff. And the thing is, what the impeachment thing don't affect me one way or the other until I start getting into the stupidity of the so-called liberal black people. All right. And then I started to, when I put that video up, the newest video that I have up, I wonder how many of y'all had a chance to watch it all the way. Because it was less about Trump, but Trump is the linchpin in all of this. I kept telling you from the get-go that Trump was going to be the best thing to happen to us, the thinking Afro men. And I said because he is going to expose a lot of what the government truly is. I was trying to tell y'all that no part of the government was for us at all. I was trying to relay that to everybody. All right. But more so than anything, I'm along with Malcolm X
I don't know how on God's green earth we got to the point where we as a people voted Democrat. I can't figure that out. The only reason we would go there is because we are truly ignorant of the history of who we are, and we are ignorant of the history of those that are actually trying to destroy us. And we also have the proverbial crab in the barrel mentality. So long as they give me welfare, I don't care what they do to the rest of my so-called people. That's our attitude. Hold on. Wish my black behind can find my vitamin C right about now. But that's our attitude and mentality. That we want what's good specifically for us, not realizing that things may be very, very good for you, but in the long run, that in the short run, they seem good, but in the long run, it turns out to be a terrible deal. In my videos, one of the things shot me. Hola, Luana. Oh, Luana. Hey, hola. So one of the things that shocked me was this. That it surprised me that we can go from basically, so I learned some things too. In the same video I put up to teach y'all something, I learned something. Right? So in the information that I put out, I put a lot of quotes from Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, the one that signed into law the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And come to find out that in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that everybody is so happy for, right? Those rights are about to be co-opted by the LGBT community, which consists of 79% Caucasians. Hey, what's up, old Daniel? All right, let me tell you how bad this is about to be. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, when LBJ signed it into law, before he signed it into law, he says we need to do something. We need to give these Negroes, at one point he referred to us as a N-I-G-G, and throw the ER on the end of that. Right? You know, as being uppity. All right. So, basically, he said, paraphrasing, that we need to give these Negroes something, but not enough to make a difference. That's what he signed into law. He signed a little bit of something, but not enough to make a difference. In other words, he gave us crumbs, and guess who is coming along to eat up all the crumbs? Yes, Caucasian men. All right, voice command.
Say a command.
Volume.
Volume is at 100%.
Mute. Exit. All right, so this is something I want you to understand. Malcolm X understood this, and Martin Luther King came to understand this. And everybody always quote Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, but nobody ever pay attention to the complete works and writings and or speeches of either. They don't want to listen to nothing that Martin Luther King said after I Have a Dream. And even in I Have a Dream, there was a lot of coded stuff to let y'all know that we are the original people on this land. All right? And if you pay attention, you can catch it. Malcolm X, he was not as poetic and secretive. He was just straight up open. He said that any black person that votes Democrat is a punk and a traitor to their community or a traitor to their people. I put the quote up in the video. Man, good luck, Daniel. Good luck on your audition. All right, what's up, Frankie? All right, so I put the clip. So go back and look at that, because when I put the newest video that I shared with many of you about Trump, if you figured it out by the time you got to the middle of it, it wasn't necessarily about Trump. It was wondering how we as a people got into settling for crumbs. I mean, mere crumbs. We didn't even get crumbs. I'm going to tell you why we didn't get crumbs. Because at first, and y'all don't know this, at first the Civil Rights Act did not have sex in it. All right? You were not, the discrimination on sex. A senator put that in there, and a lot of people think that the senator put sex in there trying to, understand this, trying to throw a linchpin in the bill so that it would not be signed. Hindsight 2020, it was probably a plan all along. It's because when they say sex, then guess who start taking away our rights? At first, it was the Caucasian women. And since they did it with the help of the black women, then the black women start taking away from the rights, right? Because the rights was rightly given to the Afro men, and the rights was designed so that they would be the head of household and we could keep our families intact. But no, when that senator put sex in it, right? So sex, religion, race, color. When he put sex in it, he allowed for women, understand this, the majority, women, to get the same rights that was intended for the people that were enslaved. And by women, we mean Caucasian women. All right? And since the black women joined with them, they got their crumbs. So the Civil Rights Act, when Martin Luther King said, I fear that I have integrated my people into a burning house, this is what he meant. But it's also why he was shot. When Malcolm X said that any black person, I can't, he was kind of cold with it. He said, he either said any black person that votes Democrat is a punk and a traitor to, he did say traitor to the race, but I can't remember if the word was punk or it was something like that. Right? Now I'm going to have to go research my own video. All right, so the Civil Rights Act in and of itself was us settling for crumbs. I mean mere crumbs. Right? But what's worse than this was a lot of things were put in place so that Caucasians would be able to take those crumbs from off of the table. I want y'all to understand that. They designed it in such a way that they would be able to take the crumbs off the table. In other words, we weren't getting the meat and potatoes. We was getting the crumbs from the cornbread. All right. But then they sent their less desirables to take our crumbs from off the floor. That would be the alphabet people. All right. So we don't even have that. Remember, I put up a video again, because a lot of people ain't paying attention. I put up a video of an argument in the Supreme Court where the alphabet people, LBG, LGB, and all the rest of that, right? Where the alphabet people were arguing in the Supreme Court, understand this, which consistently mainly of Caucasian men and women. They were arguing in court that when the Civil Rights Act was signed, that the people that signed it intended to include them. So anything that we got, that we ever got, that was strictly made for the men who were the most harmed by all the laws of the United States, the Caucasian men and women were able to steal back. Why? Because in the beginning, we didn't have a problem with settling for crumbs. And so the Caucasians consorted amongst themselves, not all of them, but the ones that wanted privilege. Now think about this. What's up, Terrence? I want y'all to think about this for a second. When we think about the Civil Rights Act, and when we think about how we're always accepting crumbs, and then when we think about how every time we accept the crumbs are always taken, the people that I'm going to fault for this is you, the Afro man, and myself. All of us Afro men. Now, in these days, I'm not at fault because I understand some things, right? And I'm trying to teach them. But you would be surprised at how many Afro men decide to not listen when somebody is trying to teach them our failings. And our failings is this: crumbs. We always accept crumbs. What's up, Leonardo? We're always accepting crumbs, and we don't fight for the meat. And it isn't we accept crumbs because we like the crumbs. We accept crumbs because after the agents of the system, the other simps, the sellouts, the Sambos, the Triple S crew, after the agents of the system come into play, they war against us, not realizing, or maybe no, they just to get somebody to war against their own interest, they would have to be not the brightest. All right, but what's going on is you got agents in the system that is warring against the people that are trying to wake up those very agents. But they don't want to awaken because they're happy with the crumbs. Right? But here's the problem with accepting crumbs. Sooner or later, because as is written, the same people that roll into law to give you crumbs will figure out a way to take everything back, including the crumbs. So guess what? Many of those rights of the civil rights era, all right, understand this. Many of the rights of the civil rights era, right? They are going to belong to the alphabet people, and the Afro man, along with the Afro woman, will not have any rights at all. So you will look at a group of Caucasian people with all the rights, the civil rights and everything. If they win this court case, what's up, Marvin? If these people win this court case, I'm going to put it to you this way. It won't be my fault. But then again, I don't care what happens. I made a niche in my life. I'm trying to wake up other brothers. And I realized that if we want to do something, make a better life for ourselves, the brothers got to do it for ourselves. And period. That's what it is. The brothers got to do it for ourselves. Period. I don't know. The Most High said in 1 Samuel, the 8th chapter, we don't need a king and queen to rule over us. We never need that mess. And I never figured it out until I realized that we're strong. Even when the government fights against us, we still find a way to persevere. Seriously. The problem is that because we don't group together, and literally we can't. We can't because there are so many treasonous black males that refer to themselves as black. There are so many treasonous among us that they have become one of the biggest problems to us. Why? Because they're happy with crumbs, and they don't realize, because they don't pay attention to anything but some B-film shaking her behind. Instead of paying attention to stuff that's going on, they are only... I don't have a problem with dudes trying to get them some and wishing of some, but I mean, we need to be more well-rounded, and they are only looking at pictures of females telling people that that they would hit somebody that they don't even have access to. Oh yeah, I tear that up. But you don't have access. So how you know what you would do? How you know she would even like you? Remember, most of them Insta models like the other color. You know, they don't like that darkness. Hold on. All right. So what y'all told us. All right. See more. All right. And this is our problem, right? Our problem is that we don't need a leader. All right. We need cohesion amongst each other, but we do not need a leader. When somebody is talking some real stuff, right? When somebody's talking some real stuff that is affecting us men, it's funny nobody wants to listen, right? It's funny that the Supreme Court case that I put up, where the the alphabet people are going after all of our gains for civil rights, which weren't much. They were crumbs. As LBJ said, it was enough to quiet us down, but not enough to make a difference. He's the one that came up with that new community stuff, welfare thing, where, you know what, let's split the family up. Let's give the woman a choice. Hey, we'll give you the stuff. In other words, every other time, I want y'all to understand this. Every other time that the government gave anything to families that were struggling, they gave it to the head of household or the family as a whole. But then again, we're talking about the white farmers, the white, just put in any group, put white in front of it, and yeah, they got the stuff. Only our group did they say to the female, you know what, you get rid of that hardworking man, and we'll give you subpar housing and some food stamps. You'll have enough money, barely enough money to pay the housing bills, but the conditions will be so utterly bad and wicked that your children will have a hard time learning, studying, and growing up in such an environment. They taught the black woman to despise the Afro man that teaches. I want y'all to understand this. Yeah, hold on. All right. So that's basically it. They want us despised, right? And As soon as brothers start hearing knowledge, the first thing they do is turn away from it. That's why we the problem. The females, I can understand, because they don't want the truth, is because from the wickedness in their hearts, the BAW enjoy the destruction of the man in the Afro male. All right? It's like they enjoy it. They love that destruction. I wish I could say, man, it's a sad day. All right? And so that's where we're at. I just keep wondering, when are we going to stop settling for crumbs? Y'all know what I mean? All right. There's no cohesion. Anytime you try to get the brothers together, they ain't hearing it. All right. The brothers will listen to a bunch of dudes that's spitting some garbage, right? And the more people that listen to them, like the Pied Piper, they'll go and listen, and the people aren't saying anything. And then when you hit the people that listen to the guy that spits garbage, when you hit them with data, those guys will argue with you, even though they know that the data that you're arguing, that the guy is speaking of, that you're speaking of, they know that you're more of an authority on it than they are. But then again, black people don't care. You know, they argue with the truth, and they argue with those that have knowledge. It's funny. The ones that don't have any knowledge argue with the people that studied the very thing that they're arguing against them. And even though they don't know anything, it don't stop them. Why? Because they're happy with crumbs. And even though crumbs are as good as they're going to get, and even though crumbs is not helping their family or children at all, they don't care. They're happy about it, and they don't care about the legacy left for their children. I think that's a sad thing. But y'all, I'm where I need to be.
All right. Now let's go back to this woman here. She kicked her son out in order to torture him for voting for Trump. All right. And then she posted it on Facebook talking about this is how you teach your young little Afro boys lessons. This is the mentality of the black woman in the United States. All right. This is what the Democratic Party and Lyndon Baines Johnson, you know, the one that signed into law the Civil Rights Act, which was intended to just give us some crumbs, but not enough to make a difference, right? He kept referring to us as the N-word, but the black women will control their sons and force them to vote for a party that willfully wants the destruction of the Afro male. Why would the black woman do that? Because they want destruction of the Afro male. Okay? So, I'm going to read you a little excerpt. Just go to the description box to see the whole story, all right, and the video on what she did. As her son continues to sob, Stalwart says, and this is why I like the Smoking Gun, they're the only ones that give the name of the mother that did this. By Donald Trump lover. When the boy says, I've got school tomorrow, Stalwart replied, you should have thought of that. You should have thought about that standing on the sidewalk. The child asks, where is he supposed to go? Where are you going to be? This is where you're going to be at from now on, his mother replied. Then Stalwart, that's her at the left, asked the boy why he voted for Trump at school, and the child answered because he's on TV a lot. After describing the sidewalk as her son's new home, Stalwart then turns around to her residence with her younger son in tow. The younger son was in diapers. The clip ends with the older boy crumbling to the sidewalk in tears. When Stalwart's younger son begins to cry and says, "My brother," she warns the child, "You can go be with Donald Trump lover. Be with the Donald Trump lover outside." This is torture. This is mind torture. This is what happened to most of us as young boys. Right? And then they hide the identity of this woman because it's sacred, because she's not supposed to be held accountable for torturing a son. You know, while she's with the next Pookie. Next Pookie, sons by different daddies, right? According to court records, Stallworth shares custody of her two sons with their respective fathers, both of whom have been subject to court order requiring to make child support payments to Stallworth. Right? So, the woman you hear in the video, if you go and research it, berating the boy, her name is Ashley Texinavia Stallworth, 29 years old. This is what's happened to us. This is what's sad. And the simps will keep on letting it happen because they don't care, because all they're after is, well, they got to step in line to get what she got when she parts her feet after Pookie here get done. You know, because they love them thugs, but they put the good men on child support and then destroy the minds of the son as they get to raise them solely. And this is sad. She was investigated, but she didn't do anything criminally wrong. Just, you don't have to have morals in the United States, and you can utterly destroy children. This is what the mothers have been doing. This is who's been doing it to us. This is how they've been doing it. Y'all tell me what y'all think about that in the description box. With that said, I'm out.